Hello! In the previous part, we bound several times to a class that still does not exist. In this part, we are going to create it. You will familiarize yourself with classes, properties, and enums. Let's create a class called Animal. Right-click on your project file, hover over Add, and Class. Or just press Shift and Alt and C. Let's name it Animal. Make sure that class is selected and click Add. We created a class, which is in the file called Animal. In the file Animal, we have a class with the same name, Animal. A class is a basic construct. It can have variables, properties, methods, and so on. Let's look at the examples of classes. For example, user control select pet. Let's go to code. If you look over here, you see this class word. Inside this class, we are doing most of the stuff. We have variables and we have methods. So let's look at built-in classes. In class, we can have methods. So let's create a void method test where we will check built-in classes. You all know console.writeLine. You call this method to display a message to a user in the console. But how do you access this method? This method is inside the console class, just like the test method is inside animal class. Let's look at other classes. Random, which we use to get random numbers. RND equals new random. Random is also a class. When we worked with settings, we called settings class. We accessed its default property and its save method. This method is inside the default property, which is inside the settings class. We can also look for more classes inside our already written code. Main menu. Here we have the class version and the class media player, and also the class window and process. As you see, we use classes all the time. We just don't think about it. As you might have noticed, we use classes differently. For example, this media player is the name of the media player instance. When you realize a class, it's called instance. We called methods using this instance, not the class itself. At the same time, you can see here we access another class without creating an instance. This is the main difference between static and non-static classes. When the class is static, you don't need to create its instance. For example, you can call animal test. However, when it is non-static, you have to create an object reference. So you need to make an instance of this class, like animal equals new animal, and only then you can call methods using this instance, like this. Now you understand what is a class. Again, a class can contain variables, it can contain methods, it can also contain properties, enums, which we will look at later. As I already said, we code mostly in classes. This is a method inside a class. This is a constructor inside a class. But sometimes you still can code outside a class. For instance, when you create another class, like class animal2, in this case it will have its own variables and methods. But there are other cases as well. For example, enum, IDEST enumerator. For our game we will use an enumerator of pet types. So enum pet type, then we open curly braces. In these braces we will enumerate all possible options. So we have puppy, kitty, parrot, hamster, and panda. As you see, we wrote it outside of any class. We can now use this enum pet type, then you give it a name, and then you assign it to one of the possible options. For example, parrot. This helps a lot when you want to organize your code. In order to make your enum accessible outside of this file, you need to add the public modifier. Let's create another enum. So public enum, let's call it age type. We have only 3 ages: 1 month, 6 months, and 12 months. I have also mentioned that in addition to variables and methods, we can also use properties. Properties are somewhat similar to variables. Let's create a property days. This is a standard variable, and in order to make it a property, you add the public modifier and also open curly braces and type get and set. How is this different from this? Let me show you. So days. When we want to modify days, we just assign value to them directly and it changes, and that's all. But what with properties? Unlike variables, they have getter and setter. If you look inside it, it works like this. You have a method for getter, change days. Here you take the value and here you change it. Days equals value. As for the getter, you return its value in get days and you return the days. This is what is inside this property by default. If I type days equals 15, we in fact call the change days, set a method for the property days. And when we try to use or reference our days, we use get days, IDEST getter. That's how it works. You don't need to create these methods explicitly. By now, it functions almost the same. But in addition, you can program specific behavior that is conducted when you reference or change the properties. For instance, let's modify our property. When we get days, we need to return the variable days. And when we set the property, we will change the variable to value. Value is anything that you assign it to. Again, by now, it's the same as just leaving it with the default get and set. But here you can program some specific behavior. For instance, instead of just returning days, you can return days multiplied by 5. And you can also show the message to a user and whatever else you want. It's not limited. The same is true about setter. For instance, when we set days, we also want to update our UI, show daily tip, and so on and so on. Now you understand how properties are more powerful than just variables. And in some cases, you absolutely need to use properties. In cases with binding, you can bind to properties, not variables. That's why we are looking at them now. By default, binding will work only once. So you set some value from the start, for instance 5, and then binding will not refresh the value, even if you change it. In order to fix this, we need to derive from the interface called notify property changed, and you need to implement the interface. So press Ctrl dot, select implement interface, and there you have it. Let's remove our test code. We don't need this. We also don't need this. Our public event will be at the top. In order to be notified of the changes made to properties, we need to raise this event that the property is changed. So let's create a method called raise property changed, which will accept property name. Don't worry, you don't have to understand how it works. Just remember to type this whenever you have properties. Var handlers equals property changed. Then handlers, center is this. Property changed event args will be new property changed event args. And absolutely necessary, in braces, we give the property name. That's it. You can minimize it to this. And this. And this. Again. Right now you don't have to understand how it works, you just need to understand that you need to do this in order to be notified that properties have changed. Only then your values will be refreshed while binding. So let's create another property of pet type. That's why we learned enums. Again, enum is just enumeration of all possible options. We will call our pet type, well, let's use the suggested name type. Let's give it getter and setter. we also need special, image source, description. So we have a lot of properties that we need to code. So public string image source. It is string because it's a path to an image. Again, get and set. Then we have a property of type string special and also age special. Then we have days. Then we have public string description, also get and set. I plan to reuse this class during the game as well, not only during pet selection. In addition to days, we will have int property start hunger, which depends on the selected pet, and age. So start hunger, start happiness, daily hunger. As I said, we will use this class outside of this file, so let's make it public. I'm not sure whether it is public by default, but just in case, type the public modifier. In addition to properties, we will have a method right in this class that will be responsible for changing pet type. And in this method, we will change our properties accordingly. So our method will be void. Let's call it change to type, and we will accept pet type, our enum, and here we check what is the type. So if type is pet type puppy, we set the number of days to 0, daily hunger set to 0, set start happiness to 0, set daily happiness to 0. It won't have any special effect, so special equals none. Set its image source to be pec / application / images / puppy.png. This is the path to our image, and below we will have description. Then we check if the type is kitty. If it is, we set days to 1, which is a bonus for this pet type. Its special is +1 day. Its path is kitty. I skipped typing the description, but you can get it from GitHub, don't worry. Then we have our parrot. Days will be 0. Its daily hunger will be -1, which is its bonus, and its special description is hunger 50% weaker. Its path is parrot.png. I pasted its description, don't worry. Again, you can get the text from GitHub. I think I wrote it myself, if I'm not mistaken. Then we have hamster. It will have -1 starting day, 0 daily hunger. Its start happiness will be 10. Its special will be +10, the heart character, which I pasted. Then new line, -1 day. Image source should be hamster, of course. And finally our panda. So panda, days is 0, start happiness is 0, daily happiness will be 1, which means +1 happiness every day. Its special will be +1 happiness every day. Its path is panda.png. Then, after we have checked the pet type, we need to erase property changed manually, because this is a method. So raise property changed, which is a method that we created here, and here we pass the property name. So the first property name will be image source, and also special, and also description. All of these 3 properties are used in pet selection screen. So description, image source, and special. Right now we have not called this method yet, and we will not call it outside this class. It will be called automatically when we change the type property here. So because it will not have automatic implementation of getter and setter, we need to create a private variable with a similar name and type. So private pet type. Its getter will return this variable, while its setter will do a bit more. So it will set this private variable to the value that we try to change this property to. Then, after assigning it to the value, we call the change to type method. And here we pass the value as well. And after that, we need to again raise property change, call the raise property change method, and we will pass the type property. So we notify that this property is changed. So I hope this wasn't too difficult, but I understand that if you are new to this, it's a lot of new information for you. So I will end this part here, and in the next part we will start using this class. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to see more tutorials.